And he will talk about we will disrupt you. Are AI, blockchain, IoT a blessing or curse for an insurance company? So I think you managed to have all the important buzzwords aside of identity in your title. So stage is yours.
Good one. I try to keep the bullshit bingo level low. So there are two challenges for you for this talk. One challenge, when I came here, I read a book of Daniel Pink. It's called When, and it's basically it is in neuroscience of how are you performing over the day. And actually, the worst time your brain is performing is between 2:45 and 3:15 in the afternoon. So thanks for the time slot to Martin and Jörg, but you're with me in that time slot. And the second challenge is I'm not going to talk about technology and identity management as well, but I'm more connecting to the question one of you raised in the former talk, like, okay, how can we motivate, how can we move employees and managers, by the way, and leadership to really face the challenges of the new technologies. Because I think there's somehow an elephant in the room. It's when I talk to people about insurance and insurance business, well, it seems to be a conception like the Amazons, Facebook, Googles, and Apples and startups of the world are eating all the big insurance players that exists out there. And I'd like to give you some backgrounds and thoughts of that. But before I do that, since you probably already have your smartphone in your hand and already doing some stuff there, maybe you want to vote. So from your perspective, are artificial intelligence, blockchain, and Internet of Things a blessing or a curse for an insurance company? And while you do that, I'll give you briefly the concept of my talk. So I want, with a low bullshit bingo factor, give you some swords and some backgrounds to challenge your assumptions on the perception of the industry and the technology. And why? I strongly believe that by challenging your assumption, it will help and support you in the transformation either of your company or to understand your clients better. So with that concept, maybe we can already see some results of your poll. Okay, so 60% believe it's a blessing. Technologies are a blessing for the industry. 27% a little bit undecided, and roughly 10% it's a curse. Okay, for me that's surprising. Didn't know what you thought. I thought it would be more match between curse and blessing and more pessimistic, but speaks for you as being obviously technology driven, that there are a lot of challenges, and we go into that. So with that, how to start? Let's go back. Let's go back many, many years. When did insurance actually arise? What is insurance? Basically, insurance is a contract of one party with another one, predicting an event that might happen and helping the other party financially to overcome the burden of an event that might happen. And the first occurrence actually is roughly 4,000 years ago. It's written in the Code of Hammurabi, where there was some thoughts about, okay, if the harvest will not be as expected due to floods or whatever, then you get back money or you don't have to pay your loan. And that was 4,000 years ago. And please forgive the drawing. So I draw on my own. So, and then insurance really became popular when the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire were strong, and then there was a decay with the Roman Empire, and came back in the medieval times, and the first written insurance policy we have in our archives is actually from 1347 in Genoa, where there was the first written policy for marine transportation. So you insure your transport overseas by ship. So basically what we have is 4,000 years of experience with customer in insurance. Wow. So how does a customer journey look like after 4,000 years of experience? And I don't know about your experience, this is my private statement here. Basically, well, you see over time your development of happiness. And if you want a fancy word, you can call it Net Promoter Score. But let's stick to how happy are you? At the upfront, you have to pay money. Then you get a big bunch of paper called a policy, where you probably understand or do not understand what exactly is insured. Then you're a bit happy because you're insured now. Then over time, you have to pay more money, and maybe you get an update of your policy, and you're sure what is insured or not. And then something bad happens. Maybe your iPhone got stolen, or your smartphone broke, or whatever. And then starts the claim process, which is visualized here on the right-hand side. And it's not exactly clear what's happening in the claim process, but your policy is obviously part of it. And if your experience is either good or bad, depends on, well, your insurer and the specific circumstances, etc. But at the end, you eventually get your money. So that's on where we are in many customer journeys in an insurance after 4,000 years. And if you need to tell your management this in a more managerial scale, I'll made a PowerPoint slide with some boxes around it, but it's the same messages. Insurance is today basically a payer for claims. So the only interaction you have as an insurer with your customers is if you pay claims. And it's basically risk socializing across a collective. And if you look into an insurance company, it's basically driven by regulation. So be it solvency, be it GDPR, be it low interest rate, but the whole culture, and this goes back to the question on the speech before, is internally focused how to comply and how to manage the risk. And the mindset is basically on achieving KPIs, achieving regulations. And now, does that fit to the situation, to the present and the future we are facing? Is that still where we want to be and where we need to be? And if we look, what is the unpredictable? Well, it is a predictable future for insurance companies. This is not science fiction. These are just examples of the industry and of our life that we are facing. So we are facing a lifespan of 100 years. We are facing climate change, and insurance, one big part of business-to-business insurance is insuring companies about climate risk, hailstorm, floods, etc. So if we are facing a century with a lot of climate change, what does it mean for the insurance? We still have worldwide military conflicts. We have the threat of terrorism. We have cyber attacks. You know it far better than me when it comes to security and cyber. We are facing new interactions with the customer. I don't know who have seen the Google I/O conference as of last week, where Google introduced with Google Duplex basically an imitation of a person who calls a restaurant to reserve a table. And these things are not science fiction, they are basically live and available. So you will have more and more intelligence devices, be it your wallpaper, be it your mirror that tells you in the morning that you need to live a healthier life, etc., etc. You have tremendous advantages and progress in medicine, like 3D printed organs, like genetic manipulations, etc., etc. And you have a society beyond privacy, whether we like it or not like it. And this is, as of today, the challenges for an insurance company, because this has a huge impact on risk management, a huge impact on the industry itself. So let's look for the second part on where do we go from here. So until now, basically these were the situation and facts analysis. Let's look to the future, and this is obviously a hypothesis of myself. And I think the big change that needs to happen, and here comes everything we discuss about identity and blockchain and technology, is We need to go for a future tomorrow insurance product to a product that uses real-time data and is predictive. So you need to have a product that is very specialized for me personally, predicting my immediate future based on real-time data. I don't want a policy 10 years ago with some standards. I want to know from my company that, as an example, the situation I'm facing or the heart rate that my watch is currently telling me, might be an indicator that I have some serious health problem and I better go to the doctor and let that check to avoid that I get ill, to avoid that the insurance company has to pay some claims in health insurance. So I have the win because I have a trusted partner that cares about me, and the insurance company has a win because it's far cheaper to work as a partner during the lifespan before the claim happens than afterwards. And then there's the second thing for standard insurance. You probably heard about function as a service. So after platform as a service, software as a service, there's a next big wave, function as a service. So companies who are offering functions to the market and everything can connect to them via an API. And why not an insurance function as a service? So if you go to your favorite platform like Amazon and you buy a new Apple Watch and you want an insurance for that, so why do there need to be any manual interference behind it? Why couldn't it be a simple function call from the portal like the insurance function as a service? I want an insurance from you, item description, Apple Watch version X. Insurance starts from 7th of March and I want a protection theft. Purely automatically API-driven insurance, and the only thing I get back as a customer is, hey Ralf, please choose your insurance 1, 2, 3. Completely without intervention of any human here. So that might be a possibility for the future, and you can think about what does it mean for identity, what does it mean for security, and for blockchain technology, obviously. So, I showed you the 4,000-year-old customer journey. Here's an alternative to that, and it's much more driven by prediction. So if we have IoT and if we have billions of connected devices, and if those devices and my water system at my home knows and transmit permanently data, so it is possible to predict that the water system at home will break in a month or so, and why not send me a message to my phone and telling, listen Ralf, based on the data we have and the IoT data we are having, there's a high probability that you need to fix your water system in your home so your cellar doesn't get flooded. So why not give predictive information about my health if I'm willing to share it with a trusted partner to tell me, well, based on the health data you're giving to us, please see a doctor and check if that's a serious issue or not, which we hope it is not. But if then, you stay healthy. And why not go to a much more partner and predictive customer journey opposed to just solving claims when the bad thing happened. And that means I'm convinced that the insurance company of the future will probably face this situation. We have on the one hand side voice and speech as an input and the smartphone, so definitely not letters or anything anymore. You will have billions of IoT devices that are connected to your core system, delivering you 24/7 real-time data. You will have what I called insurance function as a service, so some automated insurance function that are just called to your core system, and obviously based on somehow a distributed ledger, probably on blockchain, whichever kind of suits here. And this goes then to a core of an AI-enabled core system. And if I would paint, let's say, the picture of an insurance company of the future, it would somehow look like this. And this as a food for thought. So again, to show this in a more material way with some boxes on a PowerPoint slide, same message. I strongly believe that the future of the insurance products are individual and situational products, not standard products, one size fits all, but really, really customized to person, to you as a customer. Real-time and predictive products, So not handling claims backwards, but predict what's going to happen and help me that the risk does not occur, which is a complete opposite than it was in the past. And obviously this is based on big data infrastructure, on security infrastructure, on security capabilities, and big data capabilities. And this is all based, well, on a different mindset and on a different culture as well. Because here we are talking about a customer-centric culture, which is a huge shift when I look to the past and of now. A customer-centric culture and an exploitation mindset where people are willing to exploit things, to try it out, to experiment, and to try new things. So let me finish with a what to do or a call for action for either you or your customer. First, do check your customer journey. Is it more the, let's say, 4,000 years best practice, or is it more looking into prediction and protection for the future, where I think the future lies? Secondly, do protect your customer data and privacy. So if you look at disruption theory, etc., then it's very clear that your core customer are your real assets. And here we have a connection to GDPR and all the thing about technology we're discussing here. I deeply believe that protecting your customer data and acting with them in a careful manner can be a real advantage for the business of either the insurer or your customer here. So that means you need to develop a learning culture and a culture with exploitation mindset where people are free to experiment and try out. And last not least, do invest in people that embrace technology, because much more will be based on technology as it was in the past.
So thank you very much for your keynote. I directly want to ask also Jacoba Sidors to the stage, because we will make sort of a little bit a soft transition to the next keynote. Now maybe we move a little bit more to the center to not fall down here. And now the questions also, please. I think we have a couple of interesting questions, and given that we have someone from insurance, someone from banking, it might be interesting to look at some of these questions together and talk a little bit in the remaining 3 minutes about disruption in insurance and finance industry. I think you already touched a lot of these points. And so I like that first question, and maybe you want to give me your perspective. Do you think it will be possible to get an insurance in the future without a self-driving vehicle?
So I guess the question is, will you even get insured if you're manually driving? I would say yes for a long time, but it probably will be a time where you pay a premium for that. So I'm convinced we will live in a time where self-driving is normal, and that where we cannot explain our children that we were self-driving our cars with 260 over the German Autobahn, probably after a glass of Prosecco. And if you want to do it, you probably can do it, but you will pay a premium for that.
Okay. So do you also believe, also for banking, that we will see such sort of hard changes, hard disruptions, where all of our life will be very different than it is today?
Well, I don't think there's a big difference with today in one way. I'm from a cybersecurity background, and life is nothing but risk management. Also, when you're in a self-driving car. So higher risk means more expenses, and there's always a balance between your risk appetite and the chance to do better business or to be faster. So
it's the same for all
the same
the
for
businesses.
banking.
And so I think the other question, the number 4 from the top, what happens to professional risk assessment when everybody is in a position to know everything or close enough? So I think that also affects, I think, both of your businesses. If I take loans, if I take insurances, it's basically the same question.
Yeah, I think it's predictive analytics. That's what we already do, of course. And I think that will be more precise and more fine-grained instead of after-the-fact detective.